Welcome to a bonus edition of Behind the Mic. I'm Joe Reed, and this is our first Earphones Awards Roundup Behind the Mic episode. And what that means is each month I'm going to be joined by AudioFile's Laura Rossi to talk about 3 Earphones Award-winning titles that she is really keen about. Laura, welcome.
Hello, Joe. Delighted to be back.
And should we just say a little bit, remind listeners what the Earphones Awards are?
Absolutely. They're a real special part of our work at AudioFile magazine.
Exactly. They're given by AudioFile to really exceptional titles that excel in narrative voice and style. That basically sums it up. Yeah, and it's a real disparate group. So it's always interesting to see who gets an Earphones Award because the narration is always good, but the range of narrators are wide indeed. So tell me what you're thinking about with this Earphones Awards roundup.
Well, I'm very excited about the roundup. We have a running list on our website of many earphones awards as they happen in real time. So when I join you for these episodes, I'm going to talk about a Laura curated list of earphones award winning titles. I will tell you about one I recently listened to, then one earphones award audiobook I'm currently listening to, and finally we'll wrap up with what is on my to listen to list next.
I like that. I like that. I like that approach. So where are we going to begin? What have you recently listened to that's an Earphones winner that you want to shine a spotlight on?
So, the first audiobook title I'm going to discuss with you is Devotions, the Selected Poems of Mary Oliver by Mary Oliver and read by Kimberly Farr.
Oh, she has narrated a few of Mary Oliver's books of poetry.
Yes, she has. And of course, it's no surprise then that she is an Earphones Award winner for this title. Looking ahead a little bit, April is National Poetry Month. So, this is the perfect title for
Mhm.
everyone to put on their list. I am very passionate about listening to poetry. It's meant to be heard. And others agree with me. This title was actually a December 2024 Read with Jenna book club pick.
Interesting. And Mary Oliver, of course, was a spectacular poet, a lot of nature poems, a lot of focus on nature in her work.
Yes, Mary Oliver is known for her nature poems, the accessibility of her poems, and this is a beautiful selection of many of her poems over several decades. And narrator Kimberly Farr perfectly paces the narration with just all kinds of emotion and brilliance, really.
Well, should we hear a little bit? What are we going to hear? A whole poem, I'm assuming.
Yes, we are, Joe. And I am just tickled to tell you that the clip we're going to hear is an absolute favorite poem of mine. The title is The Pond, and the line in this poem that just sticks with me always is I am drinking the sun. So here's
Mm,
Mary Oliver, read by Kimberly Farr.
okay, here we go.
The pond. August of another summer, and once again I am drinking the sun. And the lilies again are spread across the water. I know now what they want is to touch each other. I have not been here for many years, during which time I kept living my life. Like the heron, who can only croak, who wishes he could sing, I wish I could sing. A little thanks from every throat would be appropriate. This is how it has been, and this is how it is. All my life I have been able to feel happiness. Except whatever was not happiness, which I also remember. Each of us wears a shadow. But just now it is summer again, and I am watching the lilies bow to each other, then slide on the wind and the tug of desire, close, close to one another. Soon now, I'll turn and start for home. And who knows, maybe I'll be singing.
I agree with you. I love the image of drinking the sun.
Yeah,
Um, I think Oliver is a poet of such quiet reflection, and I think Farr really honors that in her reading of her work.
I agree with you, Joe. And I'm sure this will be an audiobook that I come back to again and again, because poetry can be listened to at, sort of brief interludes, or you can have it on and just sort of live while you're listening.
Exactly, and I think poetry can bring you back to a particular place in your life, really can stir memories, and at the same time, it can bring you out of yourself. It's so powerful when it's read well, and Kimberly Farr certainly does that.
I love you framing it that way, Joe. And I'll add to that, poetry for me personally also feels like a small moment of a meditation and a reset.
And that is a good place to leave this one. That is Devotion, the selected poems of Mary Oliver by Mary Oliver, read by Kimberly Farr. So that's the book you already listened to. What are you listening to now, Laura Rossi?
Joe, I had to rip out my AirPods and tear myself away from the audiobook I am currently listening to so that I could join you in the virtual studio to record today. It's that engaging and mesmerizing. The book is The Strange Case of Jane O by Karen Thompson Walker, read by Jay Myers and Alex Sarrigeorgioiu. And this is an Earphones Award winner and a buzzy title. It's a Bellatrist Celebrity Book Club pick for March. And the Bellatrist Book Club was started by the actress Emma Roberts and one of her friends, Cara Priest. And let me tell you, this is a book everyone's talking about.
Okay, give me just you're listening to it, so just give me a little thumbnail sketch of the outline of the book.
So, the outline of the book are two perfectly cast narrators, Dr. Henry Bird, and he's talking about his patient, Jane O. And we are hearing from alternating perspectives the story of something that I am yet unraveling. There is some kind of crime. It feels bingy like a streaming show. It feels page turning. It's set in New York City. The two narrators are bringing a little bit of a different point of view in terms of their experience. So we have the clinical sound of the doctor and then a very sort of edgy patient journal entry narration. And I cannot stop listening.
And Jay Myers is the doctor and Alex Sarrigeorgioiu is the patient?
Yes,
Okay. And so it's kind of a thriller, isn't it?
it is a thriller. And one of the things I love about this title is if you are a listener new to audiobooks and you have enjoyed fiction podcasts or even true crime podcasts, or even, here and there you're dipping into a mystery audiobook, this is a great title because it keeps you motivated to listen. The dual narration, I think, is quite exciting.
Well, why don't we listen to it now? Set this up for us, and who are we going to listen to?
So we are going to listen to Dr. Henry Bird, and he's describing some interactions around getting to know his patient, Jane O, for the first time.
Okay, this is The Strange Case of Jane O by Karen Thompson Walker, read by Jay Myers and Alex Sarrigeorgioiu. We're going to hear from Jay Myers now.
3 days later, I got a call from the emergency room at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist. A woman had been brought to the hospital by ambulance after a maintenance worker found her early that morning, unconscious on a field in Prospect Park. The woman had no wallet with her and no identification, no keys, no phone. Upon waking, the patient could not recall how she had come to be in the park, or initially, where she lived. She was severely dehydrated, but she was otherwise uninjured. By the time she arrived at the emergency room, her confusion had begun to clear. Her name, she said, was Jane. And to my great surprise, she gave my name, Dr. Henry Bird, as her doctor.
It's interesting. It's a very deliberate narration, and you feel as though he's recalling something that happened to him.
Yes, and the intimacy of having the point of view of the doctor retelling. It's really, again, I can't stop listening. I want to keep plugging back in. to find out what happened, Joe.
Okay, that's The Strange Case of Jane O by Karen Thompson Walker, read by Jay Myers and Alex Sarrigeorgioiu. And that's, of course, another Earphones winner that you're listening to now.
Yes, Joe.
And what are you looking forward to?
So I am looking forward to Food for Thought, Essays and Ruminations by Alton Brown, read by the author.
And I talked about that with Alan Minskoff.
Yes, you did, Joe. And in fact, that Behind the Mic episode, which aired in February of 2025, is one of two reasons why I picked this to add to my Listen to Next list. I loved your discussion with Alan and how he took you through parts of the audiobook and gave a little bit of background about Alton and his ability to perform and narrate. The second reason is Alton Brown mentions he's an expert on martinis. And I am too, Joe.
I am as well. Yes, as you heard, we take our martinis very seriously. And enough with the coops. I want a martini glass.
Exactly. Gin up dry with a twist. That's
Yeah.
my order, Joe. What about you?
Oh, well, I either want gin up dry with a twist or vodka up dry with a twist. I go both ways depending on my mood and the season.
Delicious.
Gin in the summer, vodka in the winter.
Great choices, Joe. As Alan said in the episode when the two of you spoke, Alton is a great performer. His pace, storytelling, everything about the listen is entertaining. And when I popped over to the sound samples, I thought this will be a great listen for me because I love the science behind cooking. I love cooking shows, and I'm intrigued by the fact that Alton Brown calls himself a culinary hobbyist. I hadn't heard that term before, Joe.
Yeah, but it's a good one, and I think it suits him well. So what sample are we going to hear?
This is a delicious little sample that Alton tells us about when he is about to get something to eat.
And he's a kid.
Yes.
Okay, Food for Thought, Essays and Ruminations by Alton Brown, read by Alton Brown.
The point is, when it came to culinary matters, I was by no means normal. Back to Saturday morning. I'm watching this Cap'n Crunch commercial, about halfway through Mighty Mouse, and I think, hey, I want some cereal. The little angel on my right shoulder, or would that be left, says, wait for Mom to get breakfast for you, you'll be in trouble. Don't be a baby, you're a big boy, you don't need Mom. Get your own damn cereal, says the devil on the opposing shoulder. Why shouldn't I get my own? I am a big boy. So at the next commercial break, I toddle out to the kitchen, climb up on the stool, and get down the box to the captain.
He is a very colorful writer and a very colorful narrator, and I love his sense of humor. I mean, as seriously as he takes food, and that man loves to eat, he is also very, very funny.
I agree, Joe, and I'm quite excited to listen to this audiobook.
Okay, that's another one, Food for Thought, Essays and Ruminations by Alton Brown and read by the author. Laura, thank you for shedding light on these 3 earphones picks.
Thank you, Joe. I will be back next month with 3 other titles to talk about. And in the meantime, AudioFileMagazine.com has a section where you can look at all of our earphones titles.
Yes, indeed we do. And I look forward to talking to you next month. Laura, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Happy listening.
Thank you. You too. Support for Behind the Mic comes from Thomas Nelson, publisher of the new women's fiction novel, The Filling Station, written by Vanessa Miller. Available everywhere you get your audiobooks. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart, Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dell is our editor, and the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.